Everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. With me tonight, Billy. Jake's not with us, but we will manage. How's it going, Billy?
Good, good. I like it. You were breaking it down there for a second. That
Was
intro is fire. I'm not gonna lie. That
the
intro.
intro's still so good, man.
Listen, man, you could boogie that thing for sure. Oh man, I'm good though. I've been getting a ton of offers, but I've been so busy. It made me think back to like the dynasty fatigue, or I'm sorry, dynasty decision fatigue. That we talked
Yeah,
about a couple weeks back, and I basically have been looking at these offers. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do any of this. I'm like leaving them there sitting. I'm either denying or just like, yeah, I'm not even going to think about making a decision right now. So I'm going to take a couple, a rest over the weekend here and, I'll get back to it. But I noticed that and I was like, you know what, let me just like take a step back and not right now.
that's really good advice. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and it's just a real thing. You said you had some car stuff going on, and then
Oh, yeah.
the wife, the family, and you're making decisions all week long. It's like one of the last things you want to do is like fuck up a dynasty team because like you're fatigued or whatever, right? So
Yeah,
nothing wrong
absolutely.
with that. It's a year-long sport, bud. You got time to make trades.
No, yeah, for sure. But I am excited. It's good to see some football back, man. Like, we got the
It
Hall
is.
of Fame game. We can talk a little bit about that, but we also got games going on tonight. And it took what all of 1-2 drives for Anthony Richardson to injure himself. So we got to see Daniel
Well,
Jones early.
to be fair, Anthony Richardson got injured. He got blown up.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did.
for sure. He did. I
Defender
mean,
was untouched.
it's true, but like you'd think he might have an eye on the guy blitzing off,
Uh,
the edge. I don't know, just
uh,
a little awareness. He was like a statue. I mean, no, we've seen guys get blown up like that. I said this in the chat. Like they don't always get injured. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a ton of pocket passers get blown up. He's just there's a bit of fragility for sure to his
yeah,
frame for some reason, despite how big and athletic he is. It's crazy, but yeah, wow, wild.
it looks like he might have dislocated or something. His pinky is what the pictures kind of look like.
Listen,
But
if it's only a finger, that's probably I mean that's good news.
cut it off, man. Get back out there. Like,
Well, look, last time we saw him get injured, he took a knee on the sideline. It's
oh,
never good for AR when he gets injured, man. I feel terrible, and then these these Colts fans have to deal with Daniel Jones. It's brutal out there for sure. Josh,
all right.
another soft tissue issue. A lot of soft
Mm.
tissue issues.
All right, so let's hop into some news and nonsense. Hall of Fame game. I did not watch it live, so I'll let you tell me what you thought. I did see that. I think it's talked about pretty heavily the Omari and Hampton run. Uh, I think within 5 yard line, 6 yard line, something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
he probably should have got little bit closer to scoring. I don't know if like he would have scored, but definitely some decision making skills there. But what did you notice from the rookies?
Yeah, I mean, the most notable thing was Hampton for sure. I mean, like you would whether he scored or not, you would have liked to see him drive inside. I think there,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, try to push up field and not gain the edge. I mean, the defenders in this league are going to be faster, and it's you kind of got to use your physicality a little bit more, especially down there in the red zone or green zone. You know how close they were there. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just it, and I don't even know if it's him not realizing or just kind of trying to trust his speed or it's a vision issue because there's certainly some of that on the tape coming from college and we were Jake was talking about that, we were talking about that in the Discord, so there's certainly some of those concerns and maybe they're popping up early, and I mean this is why you get them in there early to kind of
Mm-hmm.
see if what they can do and maybe get some of the growing pains out quickly. But yeah, I mean I'm not that concerned. What's more concerning is Rashawn Slater. We just got, I think,
Oh yes,
tore his, was it pectoral
Patellar,
muscle? Was that what it was? It
patellar.
was a patellar tendon.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. That both things would be bad. But I mean, that's more concerning just for the O-line overall for the entire team, but especially a rookie running back. Like you want, your best players out there, and that's a stud. So that's, major concern. And then, yeah, I mean, like, we can throw it in here. it can be quick because we were going to talk about it anyway. But like, the Najee stuff, like I don't even know what we do with that. Like you're looking at him, he's posting pictures and his eyes still shut, inside of his helmet. You're just like, this is a little ridiculous. That plus the Rashawn Slater stuff. It's like, yeah, like, are we completely off of Najee or do we need like some cooler heads to prevail and be like, wait, it's probably not that bad. And we're still, a month out from the season. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Najee before we finish this up. Might as well since we went there. But I think it's bad. Like we have not like just like how secretive they kind of were about the whole thing to begin with, right? There's been no posts that he's made like, hey, look,
superficial eye wound.
Okay. Yeah, like you didn't see like with like a swollen eye shut or like, oh, it's red or bleeding or like, for all I know, he doesn't have a fucking eyeball. I'm serious.
I've yet to see his eye. I've yet to see it, so it might not exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The eye patch thing is so real now. It was just a joke, but it's like I wonder if he actually has an eye patch that he wears outside of like, or when playing football. I don't know. That's just bizarre. What a bizarre scenario, because I think he was pretty much set for 150 plus carries, and now you can't really say that. And now with the O-line kind of breaking down, do you even want that? And then how good do you feel about Hampton? There's a lot of questions there. I mean, I'm not selling off Hampton or anything off of that play or anything like that. But I just think all of those happenings all at once throw a lot of question marks at that situation that you're just not as comfortable as you were probably a week or so ago. But we can move on from
the backfield, like the whole Chargers thing. The whole like feel of what we could possibly get from a fantasy standpoint or output, as Jake would like to say, feels a whole lot different a month ago. Like now, I'm like, oh fuck, like it's.
Yeah, I mean the only thing you could think about is maybe there is some more pass catching work in the future for a guy like Hampton, right? Because they may not be running the ball as much, and he's the guy I think that you're going to go to in those kind of situations, trying to get the rookie involved and use his athleticism. I mean, we don't even have it on the sheet, but we're here, and we'll talk about these other guys from the Hall of Fame game, but we're here, and Keenan Allen also signed back there. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on. I mean, that's good news for the Chargers and for Justin Herbert. But also just still it throws more question into who's the third guy really at this point, right? Which I guess can lead into this next topic here, which is Kendra Lambert. I don't even know what the whole KLS. What's his whole name?
Lambert Smith or something like that.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Keandre Lambert Smith. Okay, let me not completely butcher this man's name. Okay, but we'll go KLS to keep it short. But yeah, he just had a couple catches, but he did look good, involved. And we've been seeing camp highlights of him too. So, Jake's been, I wouldn't say all over this guy, but Jake definitely has been a proponent of KLS. And so, there's probably something there. Again, none of these guys are going out for, 5 catches or anything. And it was like, I think 2 for 49 or something like that. But he looked good. Like he looked like, he can play in the league. So I would not be surprised if he makes a push for that 3rd, 4th spot there. And then we saw Isaac Tesla get involved a little bit too, and he looked okay. I did think he looked like, decent, like movability after the catch and stuff like that. He wasn't doing anything crazy, but I thought it looked all right. So yeah, I mean, interesting stuff from the Hall of Fame game. And then we had one more tonight before we move on here. Keaton Mitchell. He had a nice little run there for a touchdown before we got going here on the show, and before Anthony Richardson got injured. It was actually a pretty good run, but I do feel like just, kind of a PSA with the preseason stuff, like that's going to shoot him up to like, I mean, Jake was joking in the Discord. He's like, oh, I could have sold him for a 2nd round pick, but maybe
I think you can.
Like you might be able to. So it's like, be careful not to be the one buying all of these guys off the preseason stuff. You know what I mean? I know we're excited, and watching football is amazing. Again, love it. Love having it back, but yeah, gotta stay grounded a little bit in these times.
Cool. All right. Next one. We got some clarification with Jordan Addison. He likes to drive and drive fast. and it finally caught up with him. He has been suspended for 3 weeks. We'll see if they appeal. Could end up being. Seems like we typically see this. Like I'm no expert, but like I've been noticing a lot of times they'll appeal and like a game will drop off. So at least 2 weeks, but possibly 3. He'll be out for the season, which is honestly not that crazy. I mean, because he is dealing with the, I believe, ankle injury. So there's a chance that he was going to miss a couple weeks anyway. So
True.
the timing couldn't be better for it, I guess. And at least you have some resolution there.
Yeah, honestly, with this stuff, and Addison has always been kind of like, I think, hated by the community in some form or fashion. Actually, I'm going to grab his. I want to see where he's ranked right now. But he's obviously, I mean, not obviously, but anybody who's on Twitter has been seeing him look very involved in camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like him and McCarthy clearly have somewhat of a connection going. They're building a chemistry, and I could definitely see him outperforming most people's expectations. And then you throw in this suspension, these issues, and it depresses the dynasty value. So I would not be opposed, to getting into some Jordan Addison. I want to see what his value is looking like right now. Let's see. He's wide receiver 27. Value adjacent players. Okay, let's see. Oh man, he's actually pretty highly valued, higher value than I thought he would be. He's wide receiver 27, so he's right behind Zay Flowers, right in front of Matthew Golden, right behind Jalen Waddle. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to get into him. But yeah, Jones, if this news, Zay Flowers, I said Zay Jones. Yeah. I don't know if I said
that was my
Zay Jones.
Zay Jones.
Man, yeah, totally two different players. Yeah, Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, those kind of players. Like honestly, I mean, it
so
doesn't
he hasn't
scream.
really.
Yeah, it hasn't fallen. So if he does fall, it would take, I think, another like 10 spots for me to like be like, yeah, I'll start buying in. But I don't hate the player, and I think he's looked really good in camp. So yeah, sucks the suspension is there.
Cool. Some more legal news, which is unfortunate that we deal with this, but I mean, humans are flawed. But Quentin Judkins, he has Judkins.
No, you did that on purpose. You definitely did that on purpose. I mean, he deserves it, to be honest, at this point. Like, whatever.
He waives his speedy trial right. So basically, this means that the state has more time to actually get him to trial, from 60 days of his arrest to now 175 days. And I think that's just like, even just to start the whole thing. So here's the thing. He's not signed by the team yet. So
it's not a good thing for him.
That's not a good thing for him. So, I mean, I've seen people kicking around the idea that, once he's signed, he'll be put on the commissioner's exempt list, which is possible. We've seen him use that in the past. But it just really, it's for us, it's like, we can't even say for sure that Cleveland's going to sign him. Right? I mean, that's the scary part, is like, okay, in order to do like any kind of actionable, movement with him, you'd want to know that he actually is signed by a team. Like right now, he's just technically just a player out there that was drafted but has no contract to play. So it's like, how do you move off of that? How do you move on to that? Like, what can you even possibly do? I think it's just like a clear hold situation. Like, there's no other way to get around it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not out there actively seeking any Judkins shares, to be quite honest, and I think because a lot of people have what you have in mind as well. It's not like we've talked about this before, if I can go out and buy them for a third or a fourth or something, like, yeah, like that's a swing I'm willing to take, you know what I mean? And I'll risk having this on my team. But what I think, just, from a legal perspective, not that, I'm speaking necessarily on the legal part of it, but the fact that they have a lot more time. Well, he waived it clearly to what I think is potentially sign his contract, basically say to Cleveland, like, this is basically, they have more time to have this happen after the season or something like that, deal with it after, and impact maybe off season and not impact his, regular season as much. I think that's the idea here. And so I wouldn't be shocked if we see him get signed over the next couple weeks or something like that. If, I just wouldn't be shocked, because I feel like that's what this was for. But yeah, what do we do with this guy? I like, hands off. And so for me, like, there's certain situations where it's like, where you can take the risk. And again, if the cost is low enough, but we know it's not, so it's not even a conversation. If I'm not paying a second, I don't want to do that right now. And with these kind of situations, there's certainly a potential that he gets put on an exempt list or something like that, and then you just don't have a player. You know what I mean? And so, they're not taking these situations lightly anymore. I would be, Cleveland should probably be taking it more seriously given the history with the players that they've had signed. So it's just like, it's a whole crazy situation that, unless there's more clarity, I think hands off for me.
Same. All right, we talked about Najee, so ad nauseum. And
that was good.
Thank you.
That was good. That was pro.
Sometimes every once in a while, All right, so here's cool. Are you buying the Horton hype? So was it Troy Horton?
Tory.
Same letters. So yeah, I mean he's looked good. The thing is, I listen to a lot of Seattle sports radio because I live here in Seattle. I wish they'd focus more on just the Mariners, but they don't. But they're talking about the hype is kind of real. Like they were talking about how every single practice, he's made a play, at least made a play every single practice. And that's one of those things that you got to do. Like, are you looking for consistency and all that stuff? But even the amount of hype that the local beat writers and reporters are showing Torrey, they're still hyping him up as hopefully he'll make the wide receiver 4 on the team. So I think maybe listening to people that are a little more locked in, that are there in and day out, instead of like Twitter hype type of stuff. I think that you should probably realistically set your eyes on hopefully he makes the team as, the 4th wide receiver. And I think for us in Dynasty, that's not going to be good enough. So, I'm buying the hype that he's making plays and is pushing to make the team, but I'm not buying any type of hype that he's going to be valuable to your team this year.
Yeah, I mean that. I think definitely that last part's fair, and I think the whole point is fair. He could very well start as wide receiver 4 or 5. I wouldn't be surprised even if he was like behind Jake Bobo. I could see that. But you're just looking at the roster. It's JSN, Cooper Kupp, and then a question mark. I mean, it's Marcus Valdes-Scantling right now, but and yes, he will probably start because he's a good deep threat and he's a fine, pro. But I would not be surprised just kind of seeing what Torrey Horton's been doing if they find a way to kind of interchange those guys. And if he's good enough, I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes for that 3rd spot by end of season. So I do think that there's some potential there. I've liked him more than anybody on this podcast for the entire time. I remember when we did the prospect profiles. Jake was not super excited about him or anything, and I was like, I don't know, I gotta see a little something there. He's like a little bit better than what we've seen before coming because is he from Oregon? Am I not mistaken, or am I wrong about that?
Colorado.
No, Colorado. Yeah, okay, out of there. And so I think there's something there, and there's room for him on that team. So I would not be surprised if he pushes for that role again. Like I don't think he's going to be an every down starter. This is a guy like a flex fill-in, but more of like a guy who's he was more expensive than I thought he was. Actually, I was just looking at his value. I just feel like he's a guy who can rise and potentially you could sell, but he was around the Brashard Smith value range, early 3rd value range. I mean, Luke Musgrave. I'd definitely sell Mike Gesicki, Alec Pierce, Roman Wilson, any of those guys behind him for sure. I'd sell for a shot on just Torrey Horton because those guys are, not really great shots anyway. But yeah, the other guys, I'm surprised he's around there. So I guess he's picking up steam with all this camp hype. So again, like that's the reason you have some of these guys. He was absolutely free and rises. And, this is somebody who Jake or myself or any of us here would sell for like a 3rd or something like that, or a 2nd even down the road. If he continues to build that hype, that's definitely in the, in the future, potentially not right now, but it's the early 3rd round pick is like, he was a waiver wire pickup in some leagues,
Yes. All right. Adonai Mitchell, quote unquote, bodying dudes. This must have been Jake must have added this, or
No,
maybe you
no,
did.
I
I know
did.
Jake's
I
a huge
did.
fan. I know.
I'm right behind him. I'm not huge, but I definitely was a fan for sure coming out. Film bros loved him for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you see? You have him at wide receiver 67 by Pop Douglas, Jalen Royals, Cooper Cup, and Romeo Dubs.
Hmm. You taking him over any of those guys?
I'm taking him over Royals.
Hmm.
Uh, man, we yeah. I'll take him over Royals for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I think that's a good call. I think
Yeah.
I mean it's so tough at this point. I'd probably take him over Royals and Cup. I don't know if that's like it's like the Lucas Warm take probably, but yeah, there's probably a argument for taking him over Douglas. I think Douglas is, from everything I hear, coming in. You know, of course, I have my ear to the ground with the
Mm-hmm.
Patriot stuff, but like everything I hear is like he's locked in with Josh McDaniels. He's become a lot more heady, and him and Drake are the ones who are building the most connection really there. Some booty mixed in. I'm not like there's a lot going on there for sure, but Douglas seems to have his footing kind of really dug in. So I kind of lean there. Dubs also like again, there's an argument there, but like I just think he's going to be steady in an offense where a quarterback really likes him. So it's like why give that up? You know, there is more upside for sure for AD Mitchell, but goddamn, the situation seems so bad over there.
I
Like
know. I'm just like looking at Anthony
it,
Richardson laying there on the ground. I'm like, I don't know.
and it's Dynasty, of course, but you know they're
Yeah.
cursed with the quarterback position, and like it could get right, but also Romeo Dobbs could just be steady for a while, and so I'll probably just over Royals and Cup. I think I'll take 80, but I do like what I'm seeing. Like he looks a little bit more confident, and it was the joint practices are really where everything was coming from, if I'm not mistaken. There was, I
Mm-hmm.
think he had a catch tonight maybe as well from Daniel Jones, but coming out of camp, I mean, he was like digging his shoulder into dudes, throwing him out of the way, making catches. He was just looking really good and creating separation for himself kind of before and at the catch point. So it looks like he's growing a little bit. We'll see if the route running comes along as well. But yeah, it's an interesting player with a lot of upside, but a lot of downside, it seems like too.
Okay. Next thing. So Matthew Stafford. How worried are you about Matthew Stafford's injury? And I guess the follow up would be just what's the highest you pay for Devontae Adams?
Oh my goodness, Murphy has a lot of thoughts.
He has a lot of
Yes,
yes.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like the news, it seems like a roller coaster coming out of LA. It's like maybe surgery, we're taking it easy, and then it's like no, it's just maintenance, and it's like I don't know what to believe in with Stafford. We've seen it before. He's had surgery. He's taken time off for the back stuff, so it's like you can't not be concerned at what he is. Was he 35 at this point, 34, 36? He's somewhere in that range. Um, it's just like, yeah, you have to be concerned. So I am concerned, but just to put it in perspective, I do want to pull up just some kind of offers I've been receiving. Oh my god, this dog. Okay, just for some perspective. Um like Godwin and Najee for Adams.
Brother.
Trey Benson and Adams for a first.
That's not too bad. But well, I mean, I gotta tell you, I got offers for Adams. Some guy was trying to sell me Adams, and I'm like, you know what? I can buy into some Adams this year. I think on my contending rosters should be relatively
Mm-hmm.
cheap. And it was
That's not
like,
cheap.
well, no, I said it should be in my head. I'm thinking that should be
Yeah,
relatively cheap,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I got an offer for like a 26 first, and I don't know, some ancillary player for Adams, and then I countered. What I said was my best. I thought my best was a second or 2 seconds, and then it still got denied. So um, I don't know, man. I think people are trying to squeeze every last drop out of Adams right now, but before I guess we have like some final ruling on what's going on with Matt Stafford's back. I think right now people are just trying to get out and trying to get as much as they can, but the first is too much, and apparently a second isn't quite doing it either. So I don't really know, man. I guess you got to find the right owner. Is what it is.
And I think this is the most. I think this is the most interesting question of this team because, like Matthew Stafford, you're probably not touching him, or you're just keeping him. Like what's happening? That's it, right? Puka, it's like his price is pretty high no matter what. Like he's still going to be a couple first round pick type, player. So it's like not really going to change that much. You think he's maybe QB proof, but it's like Adams doesn't have that much clock left, and also he's pseudo, I guess he's the 1B, right? He's not necessarily the 2, but it's like, if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen that before. And like, it wasn't the worst because Adams can, he can persevere, but like, it wasn't great. And I'm looking at his value now on KTC and he's around Kyle Pitts, Jaden Reed, Scatabo, early second round pick. Like he's not near a first. I mean, early second round pick gets near a first, but that's not really near a first. And so I don't think we should be paying that, even with like a Benson or something attached. Like, I just feel like with all the question marks there are around the quarterback situation there, if you were to give up a first and it wasn't Matthew Stafford, like you completely just wasted that. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to return the top 8 to 15 value, wide receiver 8 to 15 value we're looking for, you know what I mean, on like a week to week basis. And so, yeah, I've been receiving these offers, and like you, I too think I'd like some Devonta Adams on my contending teams. I would, but not at this price, man. I'd much rather spend a first and a second on like a younger player that has similar upside, but also a longer leash. And so that's the way I think you got to think about these things and not get caught in making a mistake. And again, some of these are what I was receiving over the last week. And I was just been like, something I very easily could have just been like, yeah, let me just, move on from Godwin and Najee for Devonta. And like, I still, even with Najee's stuff, like Godwin still, he's come back from this injury. He's going to have probably more time left than Adams. And if I'm not dealing with, or if Adams is dealing with a QB situation and I have Godwin who's dealing with a healthy QB or whatever, then it's like, I don't have, you know what I mean? So like you make those calculations and it just kind of, Devonta's value is interesting. You should be getting him for less. And I think people are trying to squeeze right now. So my advice would be just wait on that one, because if Matthew Stafford gets healthy, then, feel free to pay a little bit more. Otherwise you should be able to get people to drop their price a little bit is my point. So.
Absolutely. All right. So
before we move here real quick, just some YouTube comments. Just Kevin Hawthorne, good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Welcome to the show. Thanks for watching. And Jake, not here, but he apparently can hop in the chat. Good evening from Portland, Maine. Love the show. Shout out to the in-laws, Jake. Hope you're having a good time. Thank you for tuning in.
All right. The last bit of news we have here. We have Kyron Williams. The perennial fade for me. Never once have I rostered the guy. I've been wrong the whole time. I admit it. I've been wrong the whole time. I thought he was slow and not very good. And McVay doesn't really care what I think. So they extended him 3 years. What was it? $33 million.
Yep.
Pretty good contract for a guy. A lot of stability there. But does that matter? So that hops into our next topic. Do contracts matter for skilled positions? So does the contract extension mean continued production? It's just like if you were going to go to a broker, an investment firm or something right there. You got your shekels, you got your pot of money, and you're like, hey, I want to invest, and I see that my buddy who invests with you 12% year over year. You could do that for me, right? Well, past performance does not equal future production. So the way I see it is that these contracts are given out for the work that you've done on the field, but you can't necessarily expect that same work to be taking place over the length of the contract. So we could do like a deep dive, and I tried my best with AI was giving me wrong answers, and I kept arguing with them. I'm like, no, this is not when this happened. But
That's right. I try that sometimes for the research, and I'm just like, I'm still winning. We're still
yeah,
winning.
I'm
Don't
still
worry.
winning. So I was like,
Humans
this
are
is
still
not.
whooping that ass. All right.
I was like, this
I
is not when
promise.
that happened. You're gonna make me look like an idiot. So I strapped a deep dive on it. But I did try to come up with some thoughts, and it's just like I think it's really good for us in Dynasty to see that a player we roster gets a contract extension because I believe that makes everybody feel like he's more safe. But and the reality of it is, it doesn't mean anything about its future production. It means that the team likes the player, has liked what he's done for him, and then here's your reward. And they hope that he continues to do that, but there's no guarantees.
That's a good answer. Yeah. I also think that, because I think about the way you're saying it, like a lot of people, whether more casual or not, even the more experienced, but, they're going to see these contracts and think, yes, longer term production. He's locked in on this team, right? Which that's not always what it means. Like it doesn't always mean a 3-year contract can easily be a 2-year contract. It's not, and most of them are built that way, where the final year is a void year or whatever it may be, something like that. And yeah, you can look to an example in recent years, Ramondre Stevenson. I think the running backs are a really good kind of use case for this, but Ramondre Stevenson, he gets what was it, 3-year, 24 million or something like that, which means absolutely nothing when they go and draft Trevion Henderson, and they're like, we're just going to get a much more talented player at this position. And yeah, I'm sure they'll still use Ramondre, but that 3-year, 24 million did not lock him into the running back one role, nor did it lock him into any kind of production. And so that's just a really good recent example of it happening. There's guys we can look to like Kyron Monty, not Kyron, Connor, James Conner Monty, or some other examples of guys who have gotten contracts and certainly, had long-standing production, within those contracts. I would argue Connor's contracts have been more short-term, and they keep like re-signing him. It feels like, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that, but that's what it feels like is happening there, just because of the player he is. And Monty is certainly produced in a great situation. But then, I think the question was kind of posed. I think Jake had this question posed, like, with Kyron, thinking, from the perspective of Kyron, who was signed pretty late in the year, August, not that many high profile players usually sign at this time. Do late FA signings make an impact like we think they can? And I think you have some guys listed here. I also went and looked. So what I did was I went on, I think, Spotrac, and I looked for the last 5 years, and I went for like, what was it? Signings, re-signings, and there's one more category that would apply. I forgot what the other category was. There's 3 categories, but I looked through from July 1st to the end of August to see like late in the off-season signings. And the only 3 running backs I found that were of note, 2 were Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs in the same year. They got re-signed. And then short-term contracts, though. Well, at least for Jacobs, it was like a 1-year deal. I think Barkley's might have been a 3-year. And then Derrick Henry got a 4-year deal back in 2020. Those were the only 2 high-profile running backs. Every other one was like not anything, worth talking about from a fantasy perspective. And then at wide receiver, there was a year where 3 guys got signed. The third one slipping my mind, but it was Debo, Metcalf, and one other that got signed in the same year. And if I'm not mistaken, those teams regretted those contracts thereafter because they got big.
Those players are on other teams now.
Well, it's not even just that. The year after Debo got his contract, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year where he blew up, and then he never had the rushing work like he did that year again. And Metcalf, we know, was kind of up and down thereafter. And again, like you said, neither are on the same team at this point. So the point being is, like, these late in season, I guess what I'm wondering is if these teams are unsure, right? And they don't really know what else to do, and they end up kind of just settling and being like, yeah, like, this is really the best we have, and they're, good for our team. They're good players, but like, when they get signed this late in the season, I wonder if it's an indication that maybe it might not be, because if they were so sure about this guy, you'd think they would probably sign them earlier, like most of these guys, who are very talented.
So that's Jerry Jones.
Yeah, right. Well, then you have
CD Lamb gets signed like the day before the opening.
then you have that.
Day. But
And it's interesting. You have Keenan Allen who just got signed too. So it's like that's another one, which is like a lot of the guys who were on those lists that I was looking at were older players too, who got signed because they were obviously like waiting for the right situation or team or whatever, and it didn't work out. He's one who I could see it working out because he's going back to a situation that he is familiar with, right? Not necessarily the coaching staff or the offense in particular, but the quarterback. And so, yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, a lot of, a lot of pseudo analysis and, research or whatever, but I just didn't see a lot of great stuff there. And not to say Kyron's going to be terrible, but we already had questions about Kyron, Jarquez Hunter, Blake Corum, whole ton of stuff going on there. So I'll stop talking. I know I've been ranting, but hop in, Uriah.
I think there's a difference between kind of what you've been talking about with teams extending their current players, like Kyron, and what happened with Jacobs and so on and so forth. But like if we're talking about specifically free agents who didn't get picked up in free agency, right? Made it all the way through the draft. Teams have made it through mini camps and their mandatory mini camps and things like that, their little summer break, and then how they're getting signed here in late July or late August. But again, like pseudo analysis, like you're saying, but like those guys are getting added because teams see like a hole in either having bodies around or whatever. It's not because any one of those players, like it's like Amari Cooper right now. Amari Cooper's going to get signed somewhere probably, but like it's honestly, it's probably not going to matter because the teams don't feel the need to have Amari Cooper on their team this whole last 6 months, right? They're not. These are not well sought after assets anymore. Keenan Allen, no one was knocking on his door 2 months ago. He just got signed because he got signed just to be there. Like, I don't expect a whole lot from these guys, and I might, eat crow with Keenan just because the situation is a little bit different. But there's a reason why these guys went so long before they ended up on a team again. So I'd caution.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up some really good points there, and that's kind of my point as well. But it's also just like even the younger ones like Kyron, it definitely kind of seeps into your mind. Like, why did that happen? They drafted another guy after drafting another guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like all the things kind of add up. And if I would have been trying, I have been any of my shares. I think I have one share left of Kyron, and it was a kind of more an active league. And so I would have probably been trying to get out of these shares if I could already, but this is one of those kind of things that's going to boost his value too. That's another part of this that we weren't really talking about, but we did mention at the beginning, but I think all the things combined, you kind of want to use this as a propellant to like move him and potentially, get out from under a risky player is all.
Cool. Good discussion. All right. I would like to take you on a journey that happened over the course of the last 24 hours. So I have this titled, so no shout out, no offense to girls, but shout out to Amy Trask. I like to call this "You Negotiate Like a Girl," or am I the asshole?
Probably the latter. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
We'll see. Here's how the story unfolds. Yesterday, I'm minding my business, and I have a trade offer for Warren Matthew Golden on MFL. And it was Xavier Worthy for Matthew Golden and a second. And my first thought was, well, no, like, why would I do that? Like, why am I adding anything to Golden really for Xavier Worthy? But I'm like, you know what? Golden is a rookie in a situation where, how I feel about the Green Bay wide receivers. Like, I'm not like really wanting to hold any of them, but I still would like to see. I think it's my only share of Golden as well. So I declined. I'm like, yeah, there's no reason for me to make that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I shouldn't be giving back a second just to get Worthy. And then I get home, minding my business again. I get another trade offer. And this time it's my Matthew Golden for Xavier Worthy for my Matthew Golden and a third. And this is on MFL, so I could write in the comments. It's like, oh, you're just going to keep sending me the same trade over and over. And at this point,
it's a different trade.
Yeah, I know. And at this point, he texts me, and he has the two screenshots, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, the point's still the same. It's like, I don't want to do Golden in a second for Worthy. I'm still probably not trying to do Golden in a third for Worthy. Like, you kind of get the point. But I was
Okay, yeah,
feeling in a trady mood, and I was in a good mood, and I was like, you know what? Look, if you didn't want to get into Golden like that, and I don't mind having a Worthy share, even though I do think Golden's better than Worthy. I was like, you know what? You put a fourth with that instead, and he's yours. And I enjoy the rest of my night, and I go to bed and I sleep like a baby. I wake up in the morning. I got another trade offer. I'm like, sweet, he sent it over. We'll get this done. Awesome. My Matthew Golden and a fourth for Xavier Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I still think technically the Golden and the fourth is probably, still a little much for Worthy. But I mean, I'm willing to take it.
I
Worthy, a
don't
guy that's
know.
Worthy's already proven himself, right? So I was like, okay, I like
Yeah.
that. But this guy, who shall not be named, he knows who he is.
Okay.
He sends me the trade offer, my Matthew Golden, and the fourth, like I had suggested, and he added AJ Dillon on top of it for Xavier Worthy.
Okay.
And now, so I know and I understand 100% AJ Dillon is inconsequential to this. Has nothing to do with it. The value is nothing, right? It's like adding another fourth. It's like instead of 1/4, it's 2/4. So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at it, and I give it time. I'm just letting it marinate.
He's a Philadelphia Eagle, by the way. He's like
He is.
you're caping for an Eagle over here. Okay.
Quadzilla used to be a Green Bay Packer, which I don't really like either. But you know what? I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? I'm a man of morals, and I'm going to stand on business. I told you what would it take to get the guy you were coming after, not even the guy I was trying to get rid of. I told you exactly what it would take, and it was a pretty fair thing, but he just had to squeeze out a little drop. So I rejected it. And I told him he negotiates like a girl. Now, am I the asshole?
That's interesting. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of get it, like, adding on the Dylan thing, but like I probably would have just accepted it. You know what I mean? Like, I probably would have just accepted the deal at that point if I were you, personally. But I do get where you're coming from. That said, like, I think Golden and Worthy are pretty close. Like, I'd prefer Worthy. I just think the offense is, I like him with, I like his upside with Pat Mahomes in that offense, right? I think he's also a unique player in that offense. So, but also Golden, like, to be fair, I've definitely warmed up to him. He's put this move on multiple times in camp, and he has this like hezzy at the top of his route, like a hesitation, and then he can dip his hips without decelerating and cut. It's insane. I've seen him put two guys like almost on their ass, but completely lose them. And that's a really unique trait. It's borderline elite, if not elite, like that ability to move that way and take angles that way on defenders. Like, it's going to be very difficult to stop. So I can understand the love for Golden. I think they're in a very similar range. But I do think I would take Worthy over Golden in a fourth. And I would take him over a fourth and Dylan. Because, again, I agree, Dylan's pretty inconsequential. So I would probably just accept it if I were you. However, it's a pretty close trade, so I get it. Like, I get holding on to Golden, like, totally.
All right.
But you did give him, no, to be fair though, you gave your what you wanted, and he went over what you wanted, and so you declined. Right?
After, 2 declines, I'm like,
or
okay.
I don't know if you declined. I don't know what happened, but like you
I declined,
did not make the trade.
Yeah, did not make the trade. Yeah.
Jake, what a cheapo. I wonder who this trade involves. Huh.
What's up, Jake? But yeah, no. But hey, I did take this in consideration. It's console wars. He has the opportunity to go get Matthew Golden from one of the other one of the two owners. So
fair enough.
So
I guess if it truly is a good deal, it'll get done at some point, right?
That's right.
Fair enough.
All right, story time.
Listen, we're frugal around here, right, Jake? Like, listen, this is Costco. I'm sorry, this is Whole Foods. This is not Costco. All right,
All
just
D. Yeah.
to bring it back. The big wow. Just ridiculous stuff. But yeah, Jake, I sent way more expensive of a deal elsewhere to other teams. I sent Uriah the discounts, he says. I sent Uriah the discounts. Okay. Fair enough. He sent you the Costco deals then. All right. Well,
Well, I didn't accumulate all this by overspending. You know what I'm saying?
Amazing. I love it.
Anyway, it's fun because it is with my buddy, and yeah, but
I also do think that it's interesting because like that is also like the way you negotiate though is it's like very like this is what I want. If I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to do it. And it's like if you know that and you're dealing with you, it's like if you're going to play those games, you could very easily end up with no deal. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of when we talk about trade negotiations and knowing your league mates and stuff like that. Like that, and not that he doesn't know you, but it's like we know each other, so maybe we test things a little bit more than we would. But if you were a random person, like that's something we probably wouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? Where it's like you would probably just end it on the 4th if you really wanted to get the deal done instead of adding Dylan. You know. And so I see it from both sides for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely warming up to Dylan, and I could see him being a more versatile player because he also has the upside, but he also seems to have maybe some more route running chops than Worthy came in with. So he's in a wide receiver room where he could totally stand out more than Worthy may be able to at the end of the day. Possible. So it's totally like they're also pretty closely ranked where like you could, you can go either way. So it's a good, fun one.
All right, let's finish up here with some trades and non-trades.
Let's do it.
We have 2 here. So we have in DU5, we have Matthew Golden and $100 fab, which is 10%. It's a $1,000 fab league or fob for 27 first and 28 third.
That's a good distinction because that would be like 100% of a lot of leagues fab. So
yeah, which that might actually move the needle for some people, right? More so than 10%.
Yeah, especially in a league that maybe just drafted and you're trying to acquire some of those rookies off the waivers. So yeah, I could see it, but that's not us. That said, still $100. I think I get it. Like that's actually valuable enough. Like it can be, it can be used in a heady way. But 27 first and a third, like
28 third.
No, 28 third. Yes, 27 first, 28 third. Again, as much as I'm warming up to Matthew Golden, I'm warming up. I'm not quite there yet, and so I do think I wouldn't mind re-rolling for a 27 first and a third. Like it's a good deal. I could see you buying Matthew Golden for that. I personally wouldn't. I'd just re-roll for the first and hope I get a. Golden has a lot of question marks. He had the analytical profile question marks, all that stuff. He's not a, stud wide receiver 1 locked in, whatever, nor is he in a perfect situation. So, yeah, totally don't mind re-rolling. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you there. If you're coming into another year of rebuilding or whatever, that's pretty good return on investment, right? Matthew Golden was early to mid second. Back end.
Golden back end first, early to mid second.
Yeah. So if you could go ahead and get a first and a third for him, that's going to help you in your rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. And if you have depth as a contender, I wouldn't mind doing it either, to be honest with you. But yeah, you could definitely, I could see you just hanging with the player. But again, like I see a lot of value as a contender if you have depth to constantly create that ability to churn in the future. So if you have a guy like this where you're not 100% sure about and you're not like, he's not like a starting player for you, then
that's a good point.
Something I would consider. You know what I mean? Because like, like there's plenty of teams where we've all had where it's like you're a good contender, you have like 3 or 4 guys on the bench that could fill in for a starting role or whatever, and it's like if that's the situation, like just re-roll the dice, man, and like now you have potentially 2 first and 27, and you're kind of building up that stock, and you can also sell it for an established player you want to. So there's a lot of flexibility that comes with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. We always talk about acquiring picks as like, not always, but I think more often is when we're talking about oh, if you're contending, but like that's not necessarily the case. Like you should always be trying to get picks.
Rebuilding, right? Yeah, you should always be trying to get picks.
Rebuilding.
Yeah. Honestly, the best like super team's not a great word, but like the best like top end contenders I have are the ones where I have the future capital because you have it to play with, but also it's like sometimes you can just sit in the playoffs and be like, my odds are my odds. Let me just roll with this, and next year I'll have 2 first-round picks just to add to this team. You know what I mean? Or play with in the rookie drafts, and it makes it a lot easier to maneuver. So, yeah, highly recommend. Not the easiest thing to do, but it's very possible. So definitely shoot for the moon.
All right. Last one. TU2 was hey, we talked about him tonight, Keaton Mitchell, and he got sold for a 28 third, which I think now, after what people have seen, just the buzz that you see on the socials, I mean, I don't see how you couldn't probably flip that for 26 third tomorrow. So
yeah, or add a fourth to that deal.
Yep. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, playing behind Derrick Henry, I know that we've talked about that, quite a bit. Just really hard to bet against him, even though like literally all the indicators would say like he's got to fall off sometime. But yeah, I think that's a really decent price to go get Keaton Mitchell is for a 28 third. So I think it's totally worth it.
Would you buy him for that?
A 28 third? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
no, I'm just confirming what you were saying.
That's really far
I don't
out.
think that's a terrible. Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible thing to do. And looking at that, just going on Our Lads and looking at the roster, you have Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, which it's almost the ghost of Justice Hill. We saw that last year, and it was like falling apart. Rasheen Ali, who's listed behind Keaton Mitchell, so Keaton Mitchell is right behind Justice Hill. Like and Derrick Henry's older. I would not be surprised if they try to spell him by using Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell a lot more. And if Keaton Mitchell is continuing to do what he's shown tonight in camp, I definitely think he could rise. So like, I wouldn't hate purchasing him for this cost right now. Yeah, I'm wondering if honestly, maybe we were right, not giving too much credit at the beginning. Like maybe he will reach that second round value. I could totally see him reaching a second round value. People do like Keaton Mitchell. Man, yeah, I don't know if you're still going to be able to get him for a third after tonight, but we'll see. I would definitely monitor like the keep trade cut and stuff like that and see where, see like if he rises up a little bit or if he stays where he's at and you can still get him for that price we're talking about, then I think it would be a worthwhile investment.
Check the trade databases. Yeah. See what he's going for in real time.
Yeah, and again, I think, Jake was definitely, there was some sarcasm to it, but he said in the Discord right when the touchdown happened, he's like, shoot, I could have sold Keaton Mitchell for a second, but I really think like it's true. He sold him for a third, but this kind of stuff in preseason can boost them up past what, and if he happens again and again, he's going to rise to second round value by the time the season starts,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. Shout out to all the Discord folks. They've been absolutely just heating it up in there. I mean, it's been super lively in the Discord. I have not been able to participate as much. I feel terrible. This week has just, again, been crazy for me and just with work and stuff. I'm hoping things calm down a little bit here and I can get back in there. But I've been seeing a lot of that stuff. It's really cool. Like Gordo is doing some really fun research on DU5 in there. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. So if you're not in the Discord, please get in there. We love talking to you. Love connecting with you. Check it out in the show description. There's a link in there every week. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Thanks for everybody who joined on the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. But yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Peace out. Catch us out on at Dynasty Underdog on the socials. Later.
Yes.